The massive ship appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning, casting a shadow over half of Nevada. Its dark hull blocked out the sun like an artificial eclipse, bringing an eerie twilight to the desert below. The world held its breath as the vessel, nearly 3 miles long, hung motionless in the sky. Hours earlier, the aliens had announced themselves on every electronic device on Earth. They called themselves the Watchers, and they came bearing a gift. The message was simple. They had chosen Earth to receive their blessing. Tom Martinez stood in the crowded control room at Area 51, his coffee gone cold in his hands. As the lead engineer for unusual aircraft, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. The screens around him showed different angles of the alien ship, its surface covered in what looked like battle scars and ancient damage. "It's a joke," Kate Wilson said beside him, her eyes fixed on the largest monitor. "They're giving us their garbage." As the base's weapons expert, she had already spotted the marks of weapons fire and explosive damage across the ship's hull. A voice crackled through the speakers. "This is General Richards. All key personnel to the main briefing room." Now, Tom and Kate joined the stream of people hurrying through the underground corridors. The briefing room was already packed when they arrived, with military officers and scientists squeezed in shoulder to shoulder. The air felt thick with tension and excitement. General Richards stood at the front, his face grim. "The Watchers have made their intentions clear. They're gifting us one of their old warships. They say it's a gesture of goodwill to help us join the galactic community." He paused, looking around the room. "They think we're primitive. They think we're simple. And they think this ship is worthless." The room erupted in murmurs and whispers. Tom leaned forward, studying the new images appearing on the screen behind the general. The ship's design was unlike anything he had ever seen, with curves and angles that seemed to defy physics. "We're forming a new organization," the general continued. "The International Ship Research Initiative, HFY. Every nation is contributing their best people. This isn't just American anymore. This is humanity's project." Over the next few days, Tom watched as they brought the ship down. It took 20 massive anti-gravity platforms, technology shared by the Watchers, to guide it to the specially prepared hangar in the desert. The ship's size was even more overwhelming on the ground. Its dark surface seemed to swallow light, and strange symbols marked its hull in patterns that hurt the eyes if you looked at them too long. The Watchers sent 2 observers, tall beings in environmental suits that hid their true forms. They walked through the facility like they owned it, their movements smooth and artificial. They called the ship the Discarded, but among the human workers, it quickly gained a different name, the Coffin. "They're lying about something," Kate told Tom one evening as they studied the initial scans. "No one gives away a warship, even a broken one, without a reason." Tom nodded, but his attention was on the energy readings in front of him. Something wasn't adding up. The ship showed no power signatures, but the internal structure was intact. It was like looking at a computer that was turned off. Everything was there, waiting. The first teams to enter the ship reported vast, empty corridors and dead control panels. The Watchers had provided basic schematics, showing engine rooms, weapons systems, and command centers, all supposedly burnt out and useless. But Tom noticed something odd. The ship's design had redundancies in backup systems that made no sense for its supposed purpose. 1 month into the project, Tom made his first breakthrough. He was in what the schematics called an auxiliary power node, running standard tests, when his equipment picked up a faint quantum signature. It was so weak that most instruments would have missed it, but it was there, a flutter of energy, like a heartbeat. "It's not dead," he told the project leaders the next morning. "It's sleeping." He showed them the readings, explained how the ship's systems weren't destroyed but dormant. The Watchers in the room became very still when he presented his findings. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. He sat in his small office, surrounded by diagrams and test results, when Kate burst in. "You need to see this," she said, dropping a tablet on his desk. I've been analyzing the weapon mounts. They're not standard military design. They're research models. This wasn't just a warship. It was an experimental ship. The pieces started coming together. The redundant systems weren't redundant at all. They were test systems. The strange patterns on the hull weren't decoration but sensor arrays. The Coffin wasn't a discarded warship. It was an advanced research vessel disguised as one. The watchers began spending more time observing their work. They answered questions with practiced politeness, but their answers were always vague, always slightly off. They seemed especially interested whenever the human teams reported failures or setbacks, almost pleased when things didn't work. 3 months into the project, during a routine scan, something changed. Tom was in the main engineering section with a team of international scientists when the ship's walls flickered. Just for a second, the dead metal seemed to come alive with patterns of light. The watchers rushed in minutes later, insisting it was a sensor malfunction. But Tom had seen something in that moment, not just light, but data. The ship had responded to their presence, not to their tools or their tests, but to them, to humans. That evening, in a secure meeting room deep underground, Tom shared his theory with General Richards and the project leaders. The ship isn't compatible with the Watchers, he explained. That's why they think it's dead. But it's responding to us. Something about human biology, maybe our brainwave patterns, matches what the ship was designed for. The general leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. Are you saying we can wake it up? I'm saying it's already waking up, Tom replied. And I don't think the Watchers ever knew what it could really do. As he left the meeting, Tom passed by the ship's main entrance. In the dim light, the vast hull loomed above him like a sleeping giant. But now he knew better. It wasn't a coffin they had been given. It was a chrysalis, waiting for the right moment to transform. And tomorrow, they would begin to unlock its true potential. Tom's discovery changed everything. The vast hangar that housed the alien ship buzzed with new energy as teams worked around the clock, testing his theory about human brainwave patterns. The Watchers watched them with what seemed like amusement, probably thinking they were wasting their time. Kate spent her nights studying the weapon systems, which were unlike anything in the Watchers' known arsenal. Look at this, she told Tom one evening, pointing to a complex diagram on her tablet. These aren't just weapon ports. They're more like reality anchors. They don't shoot things. They change space itself. The breakthrough came on a quiet Sunday morning. Tom had been working with Dr. Anna Roberts, a quantum physicist, to map the ship's neural pathways. They had brought in volunteers to test different brainwave patterns, looking for any response from the ship's systems. The first few hundred tests showed nothing. Then Mike Foster, the security chief, walked past their testing area. The lights in the corridor flickered, and every sensor in the room lit up like a Christmas tree. They quickly pulled him into their lab. I don't understand, Mike said, sitting in the testing chair with sensors attached to his head. I'm just a regular guy. Why would the ship respond to me? Anna studied the readings with growing excitement. It's not about being special. It's about being human. Our brains process quantum information differently than the Watchers. We can see patterns they can't, patterns this ship was designed to work with. They worked through the night, mapping the connections between Mike's brainwave patterns and the ship's systems. By morning, they had proof. Humans could interface with the ship in ways the Watchers never could. The ship wasn't dead. It had just been waiting for the right pilots. The Watchers became nervous when they saw the increased activity. They started asking more questions, spending more time observing the tests. But they had underestimated human ingenuity and their ability to keep secrets. While the official teams ran obvious tests that showed little progress, a secret group worked in sealed chambers deep within the ship. They made breakthrough after breakthrough. The ship's quantum core wasn't just an engine. It was a living computer that could sync with human consciousness. It's like the ship was made for us, Tom explained to General Richards during a secure briefing. Every system, every circuit, it's all designed to work with human thought patterns. The Watchers couldn't use it because their minds work differently. They see reality in straight lines. We see it in waves and possibilities. Kate's weapons research revealed even more surprises. The ship's defensive systems weren't broken. They were dormant, waiting for minds that could grasp their true purpose. These aren't just shields, she explained, pointing to complex holographic displays. They're reality bubbles. They don't stop attacks. They'd prevent them from ever happening by shifting probability itself. The first real test came 2 months after their initial breakthrough. They had kept their progress hidden from the Watchers, showing them only failed experiments and setbacks. But in a shielded chamber at the heart of the ship, they were ready to wake it up. Mike sat in what they now knew was the control chair, while Tom and Anna monitored the systems. Kate stood ready at the weapons console, though they hoped they wouldn't need it. The room hummed with tension and excitement. "Remembered," Tom said, "just like we practiced. Don't try to control it. Let your mind flow with it." Mike nodded and closed his eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chair began to glow with a soft blue light. Patterns of energy raced across the walls like liquid lightning. The ship's quantum core, dormant for so long, pulsed with new life. Screens and holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing systems and capabilities the Watchers had never mentioned. The ship wasn't just a warship, it was a research vessel designed to explore the boundaries of reality itself. "Holy shit," Kate whispered, staring at her weapons display. "These aren't weapons, they're universe manipulation tools. This ship can literally rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area." The ship's systems integrated seamlessly with Mike's consciousness, showing him visions of space and time that no human had ever seen before. Through his mind, they could see the ship's true purpose. It was designed to explore and manipulate the quantum fabric of reality. But their success couldn't remain hidden forever. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the ship's power signature spiked. The Watchers would know something had changed. "Shut it down," General Richards ordered through the comm system. "We're not ready for them to know yet." As they powered down the systems, Tom noticed something strange in the data streams. The ship wasn't just responding to them, it was learning from them. Each interaction made it more attuned to human thought patterns. It was evolving. That night, while the Watchers demanded explanations for the power spike, the human team met in secret. They had discovered something that changed everything they thought they knew about the ship. "It's not just that we can use it," Anna explained, showing them complex quantum equations. "We make it stronger. Our way of thinking, our creativity. It amplifies the ship's capabilities beyond its original design specs." "How much stronger?" General Richards asked. Tom brought up a series of calculations. "Based on our tests, at least 10 times more powerful than anything in the Watchers' fleet. And that's just the beginning. The more we work with it, the more powerful it becomes." The implications were staggering. The Watchers hadn't given them a piece of junk. They had accidentally handed humanity the most powerful ship ever created. A ship that only humans could use to its full potential. As they left the meeting, Kate pulled Tom aside. "They're going to find out sooner or later," she said. "And when they do," Tom nodded, "we need to be ready." He looked up at the vast ship, its hull now humming with hidden power. "They thought they were giving us a coffin. Instead, they gave us the key to the universe." The next few days would change everything. But for now, in the quiet of night, the ship pulsed with newfound energy, a silent promise of what was to come. The real test wasn't just waking up the ship, it was preparing for what would happen when the Watchers realized exactly what they had done. The transformation began slowly at first. Tom and his team worked in secret, making small changes that the Watchers wouldn't notice. They added Earth computers to the ship's systems, finding ways to blend human and alien technology. Each change made the ship stronger, more responsive to human control. Kate made the first major breakthrough while studying Earth's oceans. "Water," she announced during a midnight meeting. "The ship's quantum core can use water as fuel. The watchers never realized because their worlds are mostly dry. She showed them the calculations. We're sitting on an ocean of fuel, and they don't even know it. The discovery changed everything. They began installing water processing systems throughout the ship, carefully disguising them as basic life support modifications. The watchers watched with their usual air of superiority, clearly thinking the humans were just making their new toy more comfortable. Tom worked with Anna to develop a new kind of shield system. They found that human intuition, the ability to guess what would happen next, could be amplified by the ship's quantum processors. The shield didn't just block attacks, it predicted them, shifting the ship's position in space-time microseconds before impact. It's like having a sixth sense, Mike explained after testing the new system. I can feel attacks coming before they happen. The ship takes my hunches and turns them into reality. The test results were beyond anything they had hoped for. The predictive shield could stop weapons that hadn't even been fired yet. The watchers became more agitated as the ship changed. Its hull, once dark and lifeless, now rippled with subtle patterns of energy. They demanded explanations, but the human team had prepared for this. They showed them modified data, carefully crafted to hide the true extent of their progress. Captain James Walker arrived on a stormy Tuesday, chosen to be the ship's first official commander. He was a tall, quiet man with a reputation for staying cool under pressure. The moment he stepped into the ship, every system lit up like it was greeting an old friend. "The ship likes him," Anna said, watching the energy readings spike. "His brainwave patterns are perfect for deep space navigation." She had been right. Some humans were naturally better at interfacing with the ship's systems. James could link with the navigation computers in ways that even Mike couldn't match. The transformation accelerated after that. With James coordinating their efforts, they began making bigger changes. The ship's hull, which they had thought was simple metal, turned out to be a massive sensor array. They learned to tune it to human brainwaves, creating a neural network that spread throughout the entire vessel. "It's not just a ship anymore," Tom told General Richards during their weekly briefing. "It's becoming something new. Something that's neither human nor alien, but both." The general nodded, understanding the implications. They were creating something unprecedented in the galaxy. Kate's weapons team made the most startling discovery yet. The ship's quantum weapons, which they had thought were simple energy projectors, could actually bend reality itself. "Watch this," she said, demonstrating on a test asteroid. The weapon fired, and instead of destroying the rock, it simply rewrote the laws of physics around it. The asteroid turned to gas, then reformed as crystal, then vanished entirely. "We can change reality in a bubble around the ship," she explained. "Gravity, time, space, they're all just suggestions to these weapons." The implications were staggering. They hadn't just repaired the ship, they had unleashed its true potential. The watchers must have sensed something was wrong. They began conducting their own scans, trying to understand the changes they were seeing. But the ship, now partly alive with human consciousness, helped hide its own transformation. It showed them what they expected to see: a primitive crew making crude modifications to technology they'd barely understood. Water tanks were installed in secret compartments throughout the ship, feeding the quantum core with an endless supply of fuel. Earth's oceans contained enough power to run the ship for centuries. The watchers never realized that every drop of water contained potential energy that their technology had never been able to tap. James spent more and more time in the control chair, learning to merge his consciousness with the ship's systems. "It's like dreaming while awake," he told them. "I can feel every part of the ship, every system, every change in the quantum field around us. It's becoming part of me." The ship needed a new name. They couldn't keep calling it the Coffin, not now that it pulsed with life and power. After much discussion, they settled on Phoenix, the mythical bird that rose from its own ashes to become something greater. One night, as they prepared for the first full test flight, Tom found Kate staring at the ship through the hangar's massive windows. "They're going to try to take it back," she said quietly. "When they realize what we've done, they'll want their gift back." Tom nodded. They had all known this day would come. "Let them try," he said. "The Phoenix isn't their ship anymore. It never really was. It was waiting for us all along." The next morning, they began final preparations for the test flight. The Phoenix's hull gleamed with hidden power, its surface shifting with patterns of light that looked almost alive. The water processing systems hummed quietly, converting Earth's most common resource into unimaginable power. James sat in the control chair, his mind merging with the ship's consciousness. Mike monitored the defense systems, ready for anything. Kate stood at her weapons station, though the weapons were now so advanced that calling them weapons seemed almost primitive. The Watchers watched from their observation post, still unaware of the true magnitude of what humanity had achieved. They thought they were about to watch a simple test flight. Instead, they were about to witness the birth of something unprecedented in the galaxy. A ship that combined the best of human and alien technology, powered by Earth's oceans and guided by human consciousness. As the final checks were completed, Tom looked around at his team. They had done the impossible. They had taken a gift meant to humiliate them and turned it into humanity's greatest achievement. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship anymore. It was humanity's key to the stars and a message to the galaxy. Never underestimate human ingenuity. The Watchers showed their true colors on the day of the test flight. As the Phoenix prepared to launch, 3 massive warships appeared in Earth's orbit. Their message was simple and cold. "The experiment is over. Surrender the vessel." In the control room, James sat calmly in his chair while alarms blared around them. Through his neural link with the ship, he could feel the enemy vessels positioning themselves for attack. The Phoenix's quantum sensors mapped their every move, predicting their likely strategies. "They never meant for us to keep it," Kate said, her hands moving across the weapons console. "We were just their lab rats. They wanted to see if we could fix their broken toy." The anger in her voice matched the mood of everyone in the room. Tom worked quickly at his station, activating all the systems they had kept hidden from the Watchers. "They're in for a surprise," he said grimly. "They have no idea what this ship can really do now." General Richards's voice came through the comm system. "The Watchers just told us everything. They're at war with something they call the Swarm. They wanted us to repair this ship so they could use it as a weapon. They thought we were too primitive to unlock its real potential." The enemy ships launched their first attack. Beams of pure energy lanced down from orbit, aimed at the facility's defense shields. But James had sensed the attack coming. Before the beams could hit, the Phoenix's predictive shield system activated. Reality itself seemed to bend around the facility, and the energy weapons struck empty air. "Launch now," General Richards ordered. "Show them what humanity can do." The Phoenix rose from its hangar, water-powered quantum engines humming with power that the Watchers had never imagined possible. The ship's hull rippled with patterns of light, its neural network fully alive with human consciousness. James guided it upward, his mind merged with the ship's systems, feeling every particle of air as they rose through the atmosphere. The Watcher ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and gravity weapons streaked through space. But the Phoenix danced between them, its human pilot's intuition combined with quantum predictions, making it nearly impossible to hit. "They're trying to hack our systems," Tom reported, watching streams of alien code attack their computers. But the Phoenix's hybrid human-alien technology rejected the intrusion. The ship's quantum processors, now trained to think more like a human brain, treated the hack attempts like a virus and eliminated them. Kate's time had come. "Targeting their lid ship," she announced, using reality distortion weapons. The Phoenix's main weapon powered up, drawing energy from its water tanks. But instead of firing a normal energy beam, it fired a stream of altered space-time. The lead Watcher ship found itself suddenly occupying the same space as its own weapons fire. Physics protested, and reality itself seemed to hiccup. The massive vessel crumpled like paper, its hull twisting into impossible shapes before breaking apart. The remaining two ships spread out, trying to flank the Phoenix. But James had already anticipated their move. He thought about being behind them, and the ship's quantum drive responded. Space folded, and suddenly the Phoenix was behind its attackers, weapons ready. "They're broadcasting a message," Anna reported from her science station. They're calling us thieves and savages. They say we stole their technology and corrupted it." Tom laughed without humor. "We didn't steal anything. We just understood it better than they did." He looked at his readings. The ship's neural network is reaching peak efficiency. It's learning from this battle, getting stronger with every move. The second Watcher ship tried to retreat, but Kate was ready. She fired the reality distortion weapon again, this time creating a bubble of altered space around the enemy vessel. Inside that bubble, time moved 1,000 times slower than normal. The ship was effectively frozen, its crew trapped in a moment of time. The last Watcher ship launched what looked like missiles, but they were unlike anything Earth had seen before. As they approached, they split into thousands of smaller projectiles, each one capable of destroying a normal vessel. But the Phoenix was far from normal. Its predictive shields created a web of altered probability around the ship. The missiles found themselves flying through space where the Phoenix had a 0% chance of being. They passed harmlessly through empty air, their targeting systems confused by quantum uncertainty. James counterattacked, using the ship's water-powered engines in a way the Watchers had never imagined possible. The Phoenix generated a field of pure quantum energy, using Earth's most common molecule as a source of unimaginable power. The enemy ship's shields, designed to stop normal weapons, were useless against this new form of attack. The battle was over in minutes. 2 Watcher ships were destroyed, one trapped in a time bubble, and humanity had just announced itself as a major power in the galaxy. But they all knew this was just the beginning. "More ships are coming," Anna reported, watching her long-range sensors. "They're calling for reinforcements. And," she paused, checking her readings, "they're talking about something called the Swarm, saying we've ruined everything by not playing our part." General Richards's voice was steady when he responded. "So that was their plan. Give us a broken ship, wait for us to fix it, then take it back and use us as cannon fodder against their real enemy." He was quiet for a moment. "Well, their plan just backfired. The Phoenix isn't their weapon anymore. It's humanity's shield." Through his neural link, James could feel the ship's systems integrating everything they had learned from the battle. The quantum processors were adapting, evolving, becoming even more attuned to human thought patterns. The Phoenix wasn't just a warship anymore. It was becoming something entirely new. "We need to prepare," Tom said, looking at the battle damage reports. There weren't any. The ship had performed perfectly. "They'll be back with a bigger fleet, and they'll tell the Swarm about us too. Earth is about to become the center of a galactic war." Kate smiled grimly at her weapons display. "Let them come. We've got oceans of fuel, technology they can't understand, and a ship that thinks like we do. They wanted to use us as pawns in their war. Instead, they created a whole new player." The Phoenix hung in Earth orbit, its hull glowing with power, its systems humming with human consciousness, and alien technology working in perfect harmony. The Watchers had given humanity a floating coffin, thinking they could use humans as tools in their war. Instead, they had given Earth exactly what it needed to become a force they never imagined possible. And this was just the beginning. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The story of how humans had transformed a discarded warship into something unprecedented caught the attention of every spacefaring race. The Watchers' reputation for superiority crumbled as reports spread of their defeat at the hands of a primitive species. 3 months after the first battle, Earth had changed dramatically. The Phoenix's technology sparked a revolution in human engineering. Every major nation began building their own hybrid ships, combining Earth's water-powered quantum drives with human-conscious neural networks. Tom stood in the new Global Space Command Center, watching dozens of ships under construction in orbit. Each vessel incorporated lessons learned from the Phoenix, but none could match the original. The first ship's quantum processors had evolved too far, becoming something unique in the galaxy. "The swarm is moving," Kate announced during a morning briefing. Long-range sensors showed massive fleet movements in distant systems, but they're not attacking the Watchers anymore. They're pulling back, fortifying their borders. James, looking more comfortable than ever in his captain's uniform, studied the tactical displays. "They're afraid," he said simply. "The Watchers wanted to use us against them, but now they're worried about us instead." His neural link with the Phoenix had grown stronger over the months, giving him insights into spatial movements that normal sensors couldn't detect. The Watchers hadn't given up easily. They had sent fleet after fleet to reclaim their gift, but each attack failed. The Phoenix's reality-warping weapons and predictive shields proved unbeatable, and each battle made the ship stronger. Its quantum processors learned from every encounter, developing new strategies that even its human crew couldn't have imagined. But the greatest change came from the other alien species who had lived under the Watcher's shadow. The first diplomatic contact came from the Builders, a peaceful race known for their engineering skills. They had watched the humans transform the Phoenix and saw an opportunity for change. "We've lived in fear of the Watchers for centuries," the Builder ambassador told them. They hoarded advanced technology, keeping other species dependent on them. "But you humans did something unprecedented. You made their technology better." More allies followed. The Explorers, the Star Weavers, and even some breakaway factions of the Watchers themselves came to Earth. They brought knowledge, resources, and a desire to learn humanity's unique approach to technology. Earth became a center of innovation in the galaxy, where alien and human sciences merged in new and exciting ways. Anna's research team made perhaps the most important discovery yet. They found that the Phoenix's quantum processors could be adapted to solve problems beyond space combat. The ship's ability to manipulate reality could be used to clean polluted worlds, restore dying stars, and even prevent natural disasters. "We're not just building weapons anymore," she explained to a council of Earth's leaders. "We're creating tools that could help every species in the galaxy." Her team had already used a scaled-down version of the reality distortion technology to clean up Earth's most polluted regions. The swarm, it turned out, wasn't the mindless enemy the Watchers had described. They were a collective of organic mechanical beings who had also rejected Watcher dominance. When their ambassadors finally came to Earth, they'd brought an unexpected proposal. "We fought the Watchers because they tried to control all advanced technology," the swarm representative explained. "But you humans have shown there's another way. You don't hoard knowledge, you improve it and share it. We want to learn from you." Tom found himself working with Builder and Swarm engineers, developing new applications for the water-powered quantum drives. The sight of former enemies working together in Earth's orbital shipyards became common. Humanity's greatest strength, it seemed, wasn't just improving technology, it was bringing people together. The Phoenix itself underwent one final transformation. Its neural network, evolved through countless battles and interactions with its human crew, developed something close to true consciousness. It didn't just respond to commands anymore. It offered suggestions, pointed out opportunities its crew had missed, and even showed concern for their well-being. "It's like having another crew member," James said, describing the change to General Richards. "The ship doesn't just understand us now. It thinks with us, dreams with us. Sometimes I think it knows what we need before we do." Kate's weapon systems were transformed into tools of peace. The same technology that could bend reality to destroy enemy ships could also be used to protect colonies from space radiation, guide ships safely through dangerous regions, and even help terraform new worlds. The Watchers made one last attempt to regain control. They launched their entire remaining fleet against Earth, hoping to overwhelm humanity's defenses through sheer numbers. But they had waited too long. Earth's orbital shipyards now housed hundreds of hybrid vessels, each powered by water and guided by human consciousness. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. The Phoenix led Earth's fleet in a display of power that changed the galaxy forever. Reality itself danced around the human ships as they moved in perfect coordination, their quantum shields and processors working in harmony. The Watcher fleet found itself trapped in a web of altered spacetime, unable to fight or flee. "Surrender," James broadcasted to the Watcher ships. "Your time of dominance is over. The galaxy doesn't need masters, it needs partners." The Watchers, faced with technology they could no longer comprehend, had no choice but to accept. In the years that followed, humanity expanded throughout the stars. But they didn't conquer or control. They collaborated. Every world they visited, every species they met, added something new to their understanding of the universe. The Phoenix, once meant to be humanity's coffin, had instead become a symbol of transformation and hope. Tom often found himself standing in the Phoenix's observation deck, watching Earth's lights shine below. The ship that had started everything now served as humanity's flagship, not of war, but of exploration and diplomacy. Its hull still rippled with patterns of light, but they seemed softer now, more inviting. "We did more than survive," he told a group of young engineers one day. "We showed the galaxy a new way forward." The Watchers thought they were giving us a coffin, but they really gave us a key to unlock humanity's greatest gift, our ability to take something broken and make it into something beautiful. The Phoenix hummed quietly around them, its consciousness touching their minds with gentle approval. Above them, the stars beckoned, no longer distant and threatening, but full of possibility. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors or servants, but as innovators and peacekeepers. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other discarded ships waited to be transformed, other worlds waited to be helped, and other mysteries waited to be understood. The story that began with a gift had become something much greater, a new chapter in the history of not just humanity, but of all intelligent life in the galaxy.
Ethan Grayson never expected weird things to happen to him. His life was a well-oiled, predictable machine. Wake up, spill coffee on himself while half asleep, drive to work while arguing with podcasts, and come home to water his dying houseplants with solemn promises to do better. The universe, however, had other plans, and they began at exactly 7:42 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Tuesday," Ethan muttered, fumbling with his apartment keys. The boringest day of the week. Not even remotely close to Friday, but somehow just as cruel. Ethan nudged the door open with his shoulder and stepped inside. The apartment greeted him with its usual disarray. Unopened mail scattered on the table, a pair of mismatched socks dangling from the armrest of his couch, and a faint odor of burnt toast that refused to dissipate no matter how much air freshener he sprayed. He sighed dramatically. Home. Depressing home. The first clue that something was off was the silence. It was too quiet. Ethan paused mid-step, the hairs on his neck prickling. Normally, he'd hear the faint hum of his refrigerator struggling for survival, or the distant buzz of his neighbor Mr. Lewinsky playing polka music at questionable volumes. But tonight, the apartment felt still, as if it were holding its breath. "Hello?" Ethan called out hesitantly, though he immediately felt stupid for doing so. Who was going to answer? A burglar? A polka-loving ghost? He shook his head and laughed nervously at himself. "Okay, man. Chill out. It's just the Tuesday blues." Unceremoniously, he tossed his messenger bag onto the couch, peeled off his shoes, because his feet deserved better, and headed for the bedroom. All he could think about was collapsing into bed and scrolling on his phone until he lost feeling in his fingertips. But the second he opened his bedroom door, he froze. Lying in the middle of his bed, tangled in his unwashed sheets like some kind of serene goddess, was a woman. Not just any woman, an alien woman. Her skin shimmered like deep ocean water, blue with faint streaks of silver running along her arms and cheeks. Her hair was an ethereal white, cascading around her face like moonlight had decided to settle there. She was peaceful, almost too peaceful, her chest rising and falling rhythmically. Ethan blinked. Once. Twice. He shut the door, took a deep breath, then opened it again. She was still there. Ethan managed, his brain short-circuiting. He slammed the door shut again and pressed his back against it, staring wide-eyed at the hallway like it might offer him answers. Okay. What the actual hell? His mind raced. Break-in? But why would a home invader nap in his bed and look like a character from a science fiction movie while doing it? Some kind of prank? That seemed unlikely, considering Ethan had all the social connections of a damp paper towel. Finally, he settled on the most logical explanation. I'm dreaming, he declared out loud, pointing accusingly at his own forehead. You fell asleep on the couch, Ethan. That's why you're hallucinating intergalactic sleepovers. He shoved the door open again, half expecting the room to be empty this time. But no, the alien woman was still there, her expression untroubled, as though she belonged in his bed more than he did. Right, this isn't a dream, he muttered. Great, just great. Despite the voice in his head screaming bad idea, Ethan stepped into the room cautiously. He crept closer to the bed, squinting, as if that would somehow help him comprehend the very blue reality before him. Ma'am? He cleared his throat awkwardly. You're, in my bed. I mean, you're welcome to stay, I guess, but it's not very comfortable. I've been meaning to upgrade the mattress. No response. Ethan poked at the air near her shoulder, afraid to touch her. Hey, space lady? Are you alive? She shifted slightly, her eyelids fluttering open. Ethan stumbled back, his heart doing an Olympic sprint. Her eyes were glowing, a luminescent violet that seemed to pierce through him, intelligent and unreadable. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Ethan swallowed hard. Hi? The alien woman tilted her head curiously, her expression caught somewhere between sleepy and confused. Then, to Ethan's absolute horror, she opened her mouth and spoke. Vitalnor. Shira? I'm sorry, what now? Ethan stammered. Her voice was melodic, layered with tones and clicks that sounded far too elegant for someone in a room surrounded by dirty laundry. Ethan raised his hands defensively. I don't speak whatever that is. English? Do you do English or charades? I'm great at charades. She blinked slowly. Then, as if to prove she didn't understand him, she picked up a half-empty water bottle from his nightstand, examined it with scientific fascination, and unceremoniously bit into it. Whoa, no, you don't eat that. Ethan lunged forward and yanked the bottle away. She looked up at him, blinking those glowing eyes, then pointed at the bottle like a child demanding an explanation. It's water, okay? Water. You drink it. Like this. Ethan unscrewed the cap and took a swig. Not for chewing, got it? The alien woman mimicked his gesture, pressing her fingers to her lips in a mock drinking motion. Then she clicked her tongue and smiled faintly, seemingly amused. Oh, you think this is funny? Ethan sighed, collapsing onto the floor. Why me? Why can't aliens ever break into a scientist's house? Or, I don't know, Jeff Bezos's? He probably has better sheets. The woman didn't respond, but she did offer him a curious look, as though trying to decipher his ramblings. Ethan exhaled loudly, raking a hand through his hair. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna stay here. I'm gonna panic quietly in the living room. Then we'll figure out what to do about this whole situation. He stood up on shaky legs and pointed at her. No eating my water bottles, or anything else for that matter. She tilted her head again, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. As Ethan stumbled out of the room and shut the door behind him, he leaned against it and groaned into his hands. You wanted a life less boring, Ethan. Congratulations. You've nailed it. From the other side of the door, he heard a faint click-click, followed by what sounded suspiciously like a chuckle. "Great," Ethan muttered. "I have an alien in my bedroom, and she thinks I'm funny." Ethan Grayson didn't sleep that night. He tried. Lord knows he tried. He laid on his lumpy couch, clutching a throw pillow like it might offer him emotional support, staring at the ceiling as his brain did Olympic-level mental gymnastics. "There's an alien in my bed, a blue-skinned alien, a sentient coffee-drinking alien who might also be carnivorous or radioactive or capable of turning me into a human battery." He groaned into the pillow. Why can't weird stuff happen to other people? At 3:17 a.m., he turned to Google for help, but apparently, what to do when there's an alien in your bedroom wasn't a frequently asked question. By 5 a.m., after Googling things like alien dietary habits and signs you've lost your mind, Ethan drifted into an uneasy half-sleep. At 7:08 a.m., a sound woke him, something metallic, a crunch followed by a faint hum. Ethan shot upright on the couch, bleary-eyed and disheveled. He smelled toast? Wait, toast? With the speed of a man who had nothing left to lose, Ethan stumbled toward the kitchen. What he saw almost made him question the reality of existence all over again. Zalora, because he was pretty sure that's what she'd called herself, was standing by the toaster, her blue skin glowing faintly under the cheap overhead light. Her white hair hung around her face. As she bent curiously over the appliance, Ethan blinked. She'd somehow managed to pry the toaster open and was now poking its insides with a fork. "No!" Ethan yelled. "We don't fork the toaster!" Zalora looked up, unfazed. She tilted her head, glowing violet eyes narrowing slightly as if to say, "Your primitive devices confuse me, human." "Put it down. Put the fork down." Ethan flailed his arms in panic. "You'll get electrocuted and probably blow up the whole building." Zalora blinked slowly. Then, as if acknowledging his concerns, she tossed the fork over her shoulder. It clattered onto the floor with a loud clang. Ethan exhaled, sagging against the doorway. "Thank you. That's progress, I think." Zalora pointed at the toaster and said something in her alien language, a series of melodic clicks and soft tones. Then, as if the toaster were responsible for her confusion, she tapped it on the top. The appliance sparked in protest before emitting an ominous puff of smoke. "Great," Ethan muttered, covering his face. "Now I've got a dead toaster and a curious alien. This is going great." Zalora stepped back, looking thoroughly unimpressed with Earth technology. She turned to Ethan, speaking again in her musical language, as if he was the one who needed explaining. "I don't know what you're saying," Ethan said helplessly, hands in the air. "But let's set some ground rules. Rule 1, no poking electronics with forks. Rule 2, cereal is not a finger food. Rule 3, wait, where's the cereal?" His gaze darted to the counter. Sure enough, Zalora had torn open a box of Frosted Flakes, the kind he reserved for bad days, and was happily crushing the contents between her fingers. Half the cereal was already strewn across the counter and floor, creating a crunchy carpet that Ethan was definitely going to step on later. "Oh, come on," Ethan whined, arms flopping to his sides. "I was saving that." Zalora stopped mid-crush and looked at him. There was a pause, a fleeting moment of silence, before she did something Ethan didn't expect. She smiled. It wasn't a mocking smile. It wasn't even a smug alien grin. It was small and curious, like a child discovering something new. Ethan froze. "Wait, are you laughing at me?" Zalora pointed at the cereal box, then at him, and made a noise. It sounded like a mix between a hum and a click, almost as if she were trying to mimic him. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Are you teasing me for complaining about cereal?" Zalora's smile widened ever so slightly. "Oh, great. She's got a sense of humor," Ethan muttered, stepping carefully through the minefield of cereal shards. "Perfect. The alien's laughing at me. That's just the icing on my existential crisis cake." He grabbed a broom from the corner and began sweeping up the mess. Zalora watched him with keen interest, like a scientist observing a rare and primitive species. When he accidentally knocked over a jar of peanut butter and muttered something about having the coordination of a baby giraffe, Zalora clicked again. This time, Ethan was sure it was a laugh. "Fantastic," he said dryly. "Glad someone's enjoying this." Once Ethan had restored some semblance of order to his chaotic kitchen, he stood across from Zalora, resting the broom against his hip. "All right, we need to figure something out here, Space Lady. First of all, who are you? You said something like Zalora, right? Is that your name?" Zalora blinked once, tilting her head, then placed her palm against her chest. "Zalora," she said, her voice soft and melodic. Ethan pointed to himself. "Ethan, Ethan, Ethan," Zalora repeated, though the way she pronounced it made it sound almost regal, like Eton. Ethan smirked. "Close enough, see? Progress. We're bonding." Zalora smiled faintly again, then pointed at the broom he was holding. "Talrin? This? No, this isn't a Talrin. It's a broom. Broom." "Broom," Zalora mimicked, her voice lilting slightly. Ethan threw his hands in the air. "Boom! Nailed it! We're practically multilingual now." The humor faded slightly as reality crept back into Ethan's mind. He rubbed the back of his neck, glancing at Zalora. "Listen, I don't know how you got here or why you're, well, in my apartment. But you can't just stay here forever, okay? I'm sure someone, government agents or men in black or whatever, are already looking for you." Zalora's expression shifted at that. For the first time, Ethan noticed something beneath her calm exterior. Unease. She lowered her gaze slightly, fingers brushing over the countertop as though deep in thought. Ethan sighed, softening. "Hey, don't worry, I'm not going to rat you out. I just need to figure out what the heck to do with you." Zalora looked up at him, her glowing violet eyes searching his face for something he couldn't quite name. After a moment, she nodded once, slow and deliberate, before placing her palm flat against the toaster. The toaster buzzed, sparked, and, against all odds, popped out a perfect slice of toast. Ethan stared. "Are you serious? You fixed it?" Zalora smiled slyly, then held the toast up like it was a trophy. Ethan groaned. "Great. I'm being outsmarted by a blue-skinned alien. Awesome." Zalora took a bite of the toast and chewed thoughtfully. Ethan slumped onto a stool, rubbing his temples. "This is my life now," he muttered. "Cereal on the floor, aliens fixing toasters, and I haven't even had coffee yet." Somewhere between her laughter-like clicks and Ethan's defeated sighs, the tension in the room lightened just a bit. Whatever Zalora's story was, Ethan had a sinking feeling he was now a part of it. Toast, cereal, and all. Ethan woke up with a start, a thin thread of drool connecting his cheek to the couch cushion. He'd meant to stay awake, to keep an eye on his alien roommate lest she decide to rewire the microwave with a spork or turn his TV into a teleportation device. But after a night of existential confusion, caffeine withdrawal, and sweeping cereal off the floor, sleep had sucker-punched him into submission. The apartment was eerily quiet again, never a good sign. "Zalora?" he called out groggily, wiping at his face. "You're not vaporizing the fridge, are you?" "Nothing." Ethan sat up with a groan. His neck cracked in 3 different spots, which he took as a sure sign that aging was winning its war against him. He scanned the living room, then the kitchen. No blue-skinned visitors to be found. He pushed himself to his feet, suddenly alert. "Okay, great. She's vanished. Perfect. I lost an alien. How does one even explain that to the authorities?" "Yeah, officer. I had a blue lady in my bedroom yesterday, and now she's just gone. She's about yay tall, glowing eyes, probably allergic to forks. That'll definitely end with me in a padded room." He padded carefully to his bedroom and eased the door open. Zalora was standing by the window, staring out at the early morning cityscape, bathed in the gray-pink hue of dawn. Her white hair fell down her back like strands of silk, glowing faintly, while her fingers traced the edges of the glass. Ethan hesitated. There was something oddly serene about the scene, like watching a statue of some interstellar goddess come to life. Then he noticed what she was wearing. He started, his voice catching, "Why are you wearing my sweatpants?" Zalora turned her head, her violet eyes locking onto his, then glanced down at herself as though she'd only just noticed. She had indeed raided his closet. Ethan's favorite, red-only pair of sweatpants, gray with holes in both knees, hung loosely on her frame, rolled up at the ankles. On top, she wore one of his old college hoodies, the faded mascot grinning stupidly from her chest. "Hey, hey, hey," Ethan said, pointing accusingly. "Those are my lazy day sweatpants. I haven't washed those in weeks." Zalora tilted her head, a small smile twitching at her lips. "Sweat? Pants?" she said slowly, her voice lilting with careful curiosity. Ethan groaned, covering his face. "She speaks now? Great. This is great. I'm living with an alien fashionista who raids closets and breaks toasters." Zalora turned back to the window and clicked her tongue softly, a sound Ethan had come to recognize as her version of a laugh. "Oh, you think this is funny?" He crossed his arms. "I'll have you know those pants are historic. I bought them during a Black Friday riot in 2015. They've been through wars." Zalora looked over her shoulder, expression unreadable but clearly amused. She patted the hoodie lightly, then pointed at the pants and said, "Comfort." "Comfort?" Ethan blinked. You know what comfort is?" She nodded once, very sure of herself. "Well, you're not wrong, but those things are like bacteria breeding grounds." He sighed, shaking his head. "Whatever. I'll add laundry to today's very long list of things I need to do, right under figure out why a glowing alien is eating my cereal." Zalora turned fully to face him now. She gestured to herself, then at him, and said something in her alien tongue. Smooth clicks, flowing notes, before she pointed at her throat and furrowed her brow. Ethan frowned. "What? What are you trying to say? Throat? Do you need water?" She sighed. Yes, a full-on exasperated sigh, and pointed at his phone, which sat charging on the nightstand. "You want my phone?" Ethan asked skeptically. "Look, I don't know if you've got space, Wi-Fi, or whatever, but I don't think this thing gets coverage where you're from." Zalora stepped toward him and held out her hand, palm up. "All right, fine." He snatched his phone and placed it in her hand with an exaggerated grumble. "But no sending weird texts to the Pentagon or downloading viruses. I can't afford another phone right now." Zalora turned the device over a few times, her glowing eyes narrowing in concentration. Then, without warning, she tapped the screen twice, and the phone emitted a low hum. Ethan jumped back. "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what did you do?" Zalora held the phone up to her ear for a moment, then tilted her head. Her hand waved through the air, as though she were rearranging something invisible. The phone hummed again, louder this time. Ethan gawked. "Is that thing gonna explode?" Before he could grab it back, Zalora extended her other hand toward him. Her fingertips glowed faintly, and the phone emitted a sharp, melodic ping. A deep vibration filled the room, like two frequencies locking into place. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the hum stopped. Ethan stared at her, slack-jawed. "Did you just hack my phone with your hands?" Zalora handed the phone back to him, her expression serene. She gestured to it and said, "Try." "Try what?" She pointed again, patience wearing thin. Ethan hesitated before unlocking his phone. To his shock, the screen was different. A strange app, something that looked like an alien symbol with rotating rings, was now front and center. Tentatively, he tapped it. The phone beeped. A line of text appeared, translation mode engaged. "What the—" Ethan muttered. Zalora pointed to herself. "Zalora?" she said clearly this time. The phone repeated it in a smooth, robotic voice. "Zalora." Ethan's eyes widened. "Wait a minute. You made my phone into a translator?" Zalora nodded, pleased. "Now, we talk." Ethan blinked. then blinked again. This changes everything. He sat heavily on the edge of his bed, still processing. He had so many questions. Where did she come from? Why was she here? Did she actually fix his toaster with her mind? But all he could manage was, "Okay, let's start simple. Why are you in my apartment?" Zalora's expression darkened slightly. She looked at him, hesitating before responding. The phone spoke for her. "I am hiding." Ethan's stomach did a slow flip. Hiding? From what? Zalora met his gaze, her glowing eyes sharp. This time her voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "From those who would find me." Ethan swallowed hard. "And let me guess, if they find you, they'll find me." Zalora didn't answer, but the silence said enough. Ethan sighed and flopped onto his back. "Oh, wonderful. I'm now an accomplice in an interstellar manhunt." Zalora clicked softly, that faint, knowing smile returning. "And stop laughing at me," he groaned, flinging a pillow at her. For the first time in days, Zalora let out a sound that was unmistakably a laugh. It was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a breeze. Ethan stared up at the ceiling. Yep, this is definitely not a normal Tuesday. Ethan had seen a lot of weird things in the last 48 hours. Glowing aliens in sweatpants, toasters brought back from the dead, and phones that doubled as Star Trek-level translators. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could prepare him for the sight that greeted him when he stumbled into his kitchen at noon the next day. Smoke. Thick smoke. The fire alarm was screeching like a banshee. His eyes stung. And in the middle of it all stood Zalora, completely calm, stirring what looked like glowing sludge in a frying pan. "What the heck is going on?" Ethan coughed, flailing his arms and swatting at the smoke with a dish towel. "Are you trying to burn the apartment down?" Zalora turned toward him with serene indifference, spatula in hand. She tilted her head, gesturing at the pan as if to say, "This is obvious." "What is that?" Ethan choked, pointing at the neon blue goo bubbling like molten lava. "And why does it smell like someone set a rubber tire factory on fire?" "Food," Zalora replied, the translator app chiming along dutifully. "Food?" Ethan staggered back. "Lady, that's not food. That's a health code violation waiting to happen." Zalora frowned and gestured again toward the sludge, her violet eyes narrowing. "Nutrition. Energy." "Energy? You know what else gives energy? Coffee. Eggs. Pop-Tarts." He grabbed a rag and flapped it under the fire alarm until the infernal screeching stopped. "We don't cook with radioactive waste." Zalora clicked her tongue, her alien laugh, as if she found his panic thoroughly entertaining. She reached into the pan with her fingers, completely ignoring the fact that it was glowing and hissing, and popped a dollop of goo into her mouth. Ethan gagged. "Oh my God, you're eating it!" Zalora chewed thoughtfully, gave a little nod of approval, and offered him a spoonful. Ethan staggered backward, holding up both hands in surrender. "Nope, no way. That's how this ends, huh? You feed me alien sludge, and next thing I know, my insides are glowing and I'm vomiting rainbows." Zalora didn't dignify his comment with a response. Instead, she wiped her hands on his kitchen towel, he would never recover from that, and gestured at the stove. "Not sufficient," she said through the translator, frowning at the barely functioning burner. "Your fire. Inadequate." "My fire? Your sludge is the problem," Ethan sputtered. "What were you even trying to make?" "Fuel." Ethan froze mid-flap of his towel. "Hold up. Did you just say fuel? Like, for a spaceship?" Zalora paused, clearly realizing she'd said too much. Her expression stayed calm, but there was a flicker of something, hesitation, guilt, across her face. "Spaceship," Ethan repeated, voice rising. "You're making rocket fuel in my frying pan? Oh yeah, that's totally normal. My neighbors won't notice a thing." "Hey, Ethan, what's that smell?" "Oh, nothing. Just cooking up some space gas in my kitchen." Zalora sighed, looking utterly unbothered by his theatrics. "Necessary," she said simply, tapping her finger on the edge of the stove. Ethan ran his hands through his hair, pacing the smoky room. This can't be happening. I've got an alien scientist/cook turning my kitchen into a chemistry lab. I still don't know what she's hiding from, and now my frying pan is contaminated forever. This is my life now. This is it. As if to punctuate the moment, there was a sudden, urgent knock at the door. Ethan froze. Zalora froze. For the first time since they'd met, her calm demeanor flickered into something resembling fear. "Uh-oh," Ethan whispered. "No one ever knocks like that unless they're a salesman or a government agent." The knocking grew louder, this time accompanied by a voice. "Ethan Grayson, open up! It's Greg!" Ethan slapped his forehead. "Greg! Oh no!" Zalora looked at him, confused. "Greg?" "Neighbor," Ethan said quickly. "He lives across the hall. Thinks we're friends because he lent me a lawn chair once." Another knock. "Ethan, I know you're in there. I smell something burning." Ethan spun towards Zalora. "Okay, new rule. Hide. Now." Zalora gave him a blank stare. "Don't just stand there looking majestic. Hide behind something, anything." Ethan flailed his arms, glancing around the cluttered apartment. Bathroom, closet, coat rack. Reluctantly, Zalora stepped into his bedroom and shut the door, just as Ethan swung open the front door, trying his best to appear casual. "Greg!" Ethan forced a smile that probably looked more like a grimace. "Hey neighbor, what's up?" Greg stood there in sweatpants and socks, holding a cup of coffee. He was a middle-aged guy with thinning hair and a nose that was far too good at sniffing out trouble. He pushed past Ethan into the apartment. "Dude, what's going on in here? It smells like a chemical fire." "Chemical fire? Huh. What?" Ethan laughed way too hard. "That's just me trying to cook breakfast. You know how it is. Bad cook. Worse stove." Greg gave him a skeptical look, sniffing the air like a bloodhound. "You sure you're not cooking meth in here? Be honest, Ethan. It's a safe space." Ethan's laugh turned into a cough. "What? No. No meth." Greg wandered toward the kitchen, where the pan of sludge still sat, glowing faintly. "What is that?" Experimental oatmeal?" Greg squinted. "Oatmeal shouldn't glow. It's European oatmeal, very exotic. The French love it. Big health craze." Greg's eyebrow inched upward. "Huh, and here I thought you just lived on Hot Pockets." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Ha, yeah, no, I'm branching out." Greg stared at the sludge for another moment before shrugging. "All right, man, your funeral. Just don't blow up the building, okay?" "No explosions," Ethan promised, ushering him toward the door. "Thanks for checking in, though. You're a great neighbor. Top notch." Greg paused in the doorway. "Oh, by the way, some suits were in the lobby earlier. Asked if anyone's seen anything unusual. You didn't see anything weird, did you?" Ethan's face went pale. "Weird? Nope. Totally normal. Super boring, actually." Greg narrowed his eyes. "You sure?" "Because you look like a man who's hiding something." Ethan grinned, sweating bullets. "Nope. Just hiding my poor life choices as usual." Greg gave him one last look, then finally left. Ethan shut the door, turned, and slid down to the floor. From the bedroom, Zalora peeked out cautiously. "Danger?" "Maybe," Ethan muttered, staring at the ceiling. "Those suits Greg mentioned? They're looking for you, aren't they?" Zalora didn't answer, but her silence was answer enough. Ethan sighed, defeated. "Perfect. I'm one burned frying pan away from a government raid." Zalora sat beside him on the floor, quiet for a moment. Then she pointed at his fridge and said, "Pop-Tarts?" Ethan blinked, then snorted a laugh. "Yeah, sure. Why not? You glow in the dark, but apparently you've got taste." As he pulled 2 Pop-Tarts from the box, he muttered, "I'm gonna need a lot more of these." Ethan stood at the center of his disaster zone apartment, arms crossed, a spoon dangling from his mouth. His eyes scanned the chaos before him with the weariness of a man on the brink. The living room, once his sacred temple of couch-sitting and procrastination, now resembled a cross between a middle school science fair and a poorly managed alien garage sale. Glowing wires snaked across the coffee table, blinking like Christmas lights gone rogue. A fist-sized orb floated 3 inches above the floor, humming softly, while next to it sat his old toaster, now vibrating suspiciously. At least that wasn't glowing. Yet. "Zalora," Ethan muttered around the spoon, "we need to talk about this." The alien woman looked up from where she knelt by the floating orb, her glowing violet eyes bright with curiosity. She wore his hoodie again, probably permanently claimed by now, and some sweatpants she'd modified by cutting vents along the sides with laser precision. He would have been impressed if they weren't his only clean pair. "Progress," Zalora said confidently, gesturing to her assortment of alien tech doodads. "Progress toward what?" Ethan yanked the spoon from his mouth and waved it like a gavel. "Transforming my apartment into Area 51? Because if the government doesn't find you, my landlord sure will. And spoiler alert, Mr. Patel doesn't like floating objects in his units." "Necessary," Zalora replied, reaching for another glowing crystal from Ethan's kitchen junk drawer, where she'd apparently stored half the alien tech overnight. Ethan groaned. "You keep saying necessary. Necessary for what exactly?" Zalora paused, then gestured toward the floating orb, which pulsed brighter as though answering him. She tapped her fingers against the air. Strange symbols appeared briefly, shimmering in the space like holographic glyphs, and the translator app on Ethan's phone buzzed. "Signal," it translated. "Calling ship." Ethan blinked. "Wait. Back up. You're building a phone to call your ship?" Zalora nodded as if this was obvious. Ethan let out a shaky laugh. "Okay, cool. So, just to clarify, while I've been panicking about government agents kicking down my door, you've been putting together an alien walkie-talkie in my living room?" "Efficient," she said with the faintest smirk. Ethan gave her a flat look. "Efficient for you. I'm over here one stressed-out Pop-Tart away from an aneurysm." The orb let out a small ping, and Ethan jumped. "Why is it doing that? Is it supposed to do that?" "Working." Zalora gestured toward it proudly. "Closer." "Closer to what? Attracting every UFO hunter within a 5-mile radius?" He pointed at the blinking wires and suspiciously humming toaster. "This is not a drill, lady. Greg already sniffed out your radioactive oatmeal. What happens when those suits show up again?" Zalora's smile faded, her expression turning serious for the first time. "The suits," the translator buzzed. "They are not of Earth." Ethan froze. I'm sorry. Could you say that again?" Zalora pointed at him with deliberate focus. "Not human." Ethan's stomach flipped. Wait, hold up. You're saying those guys in suits who Greg mentioned, the ones poking around the building, they're aliens too?" Zalora nodded, her eyes narrowing faintly. "Hunters." Ethan dropped his spoon. It clattered onto the table and rolled off the edge. "Okay, wow, that's really bad." He began pacing in tight circles, muttering to himself. "This is worse than I thought. I thought they were just men in black, not actual aliens in black, aliens hunting other aliens. It's like Predator, but on a budget." Zalora tilted her head. "Predator. Never mind. Long story. Bad movie." Ethan spun to face her. "But why are they hunting you? Did you steal their space lunch money? Trip one of their buddies on the intergalactic escalator? Give me something here." Zalora's lips pressed together in thought. Finally, she said, "I escaped." "Escaped from what?" Zalora gestured toward the glowing orb, then to the symbols still floating in midair. "Control. They control worlds." Ethan staggered back a step, rubbing his face with both hands. "Great. So, let me get this straight. You escaped from some evil galactic overlords, they sent alien bounty hunters after you, and now I'm stuck in the middle like some unfortunate side character in a space opera." "Side character?" Zalora repeated, the translator tone neutral, but somehow mocking. "Yes." Ethan pointed dramatically at himself. I'm the guy who gets stepped on during the alien invasion. I'm the guy who runs into a wall instead of saving the day." Zalora chuckled, a light, musical sound, and Ethan threw his arms up. "Oh, glad you're having fun. I'll be over here stress-eating cereal if anyone needs me." But before Ethan could storm to the kitchen, a loud mechanical clang echoed from outside the apartment. Both he and Zalora froze. "What was that?" Ethan whispered. Zalora turned toward the window, her glowing eyes sharpened like a hunter's instincts kicking in. Ethan peeked through the blinds and felt his blood run cold. A black, unmarked van had pulled up in front of the building. Its side doors slid open, and out stepped 3 figures, tall, broad, wearing black suits and sunglasses that somehow glimmered unnaturally under the afternoon sun. "Oh no, nope, nope, nope," Ethan muttered. "They're here. The alien men in black are here." Zalora rose to her feet, calm as ever, her gaze fixed on the approaching figures. "What do we do?" Ethan asked, panicking. "We can't fight them. I don't have a laser gun. I barely even own a baseball bat." "Hide," Zalora said simply. Ethan scoffed. "Oh, sure, hide, because that's worked so well so far." The orb on the floor suddenly pulsed, sending a deep vibration through the apartment. The glyphs hanging in the air blinked faster, as if responding to the external threat. Zalora turned to him, urgency finally sparking in her voice. "Trust me." Ethan stared at her. Despite the chaos, despite his heart slamming against his ribs like a jackhammer, there was something in her tone, something steady, that made him pause. "Okay," he said, exhaling shakily. "What do I do?" Zalora didn't hesitate. She pointed at the floating orb and grabbed his wrist. "Help me finish this. Now." "Finish it? Finish what?" "Signal." Ethan groaned, racing to her side. This had better not turn my living room into a black hole. As Zalora tapped at the glowing glyphs in the air, the orb's hum grew louder. Outside, heavy footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Ethan's phone buzzed on the counter. It was Greg. "Greg, dude, those suits are asking about you. What did you do?" Ethan ignored it and looked at Zalora. "This plan of yours better work because we are so dead otherwise." The door handle jiggled. Someone or something was trying to get in. Zalora locked eyes with Ethan. "Hold on." "Hold on to what?" Before he could finish, the orb erupted in a brilliant flash of light, and the entire apartment seemed to shimmer out of existence. At least that's what it felt like to Ethan, right before everything went black. When Ethan's eyes fluttered open, his first thought was, well, this is it. I'm dead. It felt like being swallowed by a lava lamp. Everything around him pulsed and wobbled with faint streaks of light, as though he were trapped inside a melted rainbow. The air buzzed softly, and the sensation was somewhere between floating on a cloud and being shoved through a car wash blindfolded. Then his second thought hit him. If this is the afterlife, I want a refund. "Zalora?" His voice came out in a croak, muffled as though he were yelling through cotton candy. He blinked furiously, trying to focus on something solid. A few feet away, or maybe it was light years away, who could tell, Zalora hovered in the shimmering void, calm as ever. Her hair floated around her face like dark silk, and her violet eyes glowed softly. In the surreal haze, she looked less human and more celestial, like a goddess plucked from some forgotten myth. "Ethan," her voice came through clearly this time, echoing slightly, as though bouncing around inside his head. Ethan wobbled as he tried to stand on, well, nothing. Where the heck are we?" "The shimmer." He swayed, arms flailing for balance. "The shimmer? Is that like alien for pocket dimension or death limbo? Because I gotta say, this doesn't feel OSHA approved." Zalora tilted her head, faint amusement tugging at her lips. "Safe." "Safe?" Ethan pointed a shaky finger at the pulsating light around them. "We're floating in this. There is no solid ground. Up, down, sideways, I don't even know which way I'm breathing." Zalora extended her hand toward him. "Trust." "Yeah, because that's gone so well so far," he muttered. but he reluctantly took her hand. Her touch felt steady, warm, and oddly reassuring. As soon as her fingers closed around his, the dizziness in his head cleared slightly, and the sensation of freefall ebbed. "Okay." Ethan sighed, knees still wobbling. "Let's review. Alien bounty hunters are breaking down my door, my toaster's possessed, and now we're hiding in a magical space shimmer. Is that about right?" Zalora gave a small nod. "Correct." Ethan grunted, shoving his free hand through his hair. "Well, I guess it could be worse. At least Greg's not here. He'd probably start live streaming this." Zalora blinked, unfamiliar with the concept. "Greg?" "My neighbor," Ethan explained. "The nosiest human to ever exist. If he knew about you, he'd have your glowing face plastered all over YouTube by now with a headline like, 'Blue Alien Woman Steals Frying Pan. You won't believe what happens next.'" Zalora clicked her tongue, her version of a laugh, and squeezed his hand lightly, guiding him forward through the shifting lights. "Greg? Annoying?" "Annoying doesn't even cover it." Ethan chuckled despite himself. "I once caught him timing how long I brushed my teeth. Why?" "Curious species," Zalora mused, glancing around the shimmer as they drifted. "Humans." "Hey, we're not all bad," Ethan replied, trying to act defensive. "We've got pizza, dogs, and, Netflix? Netflix? You'd love it," he muttered. "Trust me." Zalora led him deeper into the swirling void, and slowly, the lights began to form patterns, rings of blue and silver, expanding like ripples on a pond. Ethan noticed a change in the air, too. It felt cleaner, easier to breathe. "Why are we in here?" Ethan asked after a moment, his voice quieter. "To hide," Zalora said. "Hide from the bounty hunters?" "Yes." Ethan frowned. "What is this place, really? You called it the Shimmer, but it feels like, I don't know, a place between places." Zalora paused, her gaze flickering toward him. "Correct. A space between." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. "Wait, seriously? Did I just guess alien science right? Score 1 for the Earth guy." Zalora smiled faintly but pressed on. "This is old, a fragment, a leftover space from the Makers." Ethan blinked. "The Makers? Who are they? Some kind of ancient aliens?" Zalora hesitated, as though choosing her words carefully. "Before the Hunters. Before us. The Makers shaped the pathways between worlds. Long gone now." Ethan exhaled slowly. "You're saying this place is like alien ruins? A cosmic hallway left behind by some advanced civilization?" "Yes." "Cool," Ethan said, nodding. Then he paused, his voice squeaking. Wait. Does this hallway have doors? Can the alien bounty dudes get in here?" "No." Zalora shook her head. "They do not know of this place." Ethan let out a deep breath of relief. "Thank God. I'm not ready to become human toast." Zalora tilted her head again. "Toast? Never mind," Ethan muttered. "Human idiom. Forget it." They continued walking, or rather drifting through the pulsing void until they reached a strange plateau of solid light. It felt tangible under Ethan's feet, even though it looked like it was woven from threads of pure silver. In the middle of the space floated a large crystalline structure, shimmering softly like a giant frozen flower. "What is that?" Ethan asked, his voice hushed. "Anchor," Zalora said simply. "It stabilizes the shimmer." Ethan stared at the crystal, rubbing his chin. "So, this thing's holding the pocket dimension together?" Zalora nodded, reaching toward it. Her hand glowed faintly as it hovered near the crystal's surface. Glyphs swirled around her fingers again, and Ethan's phone buzzed briefly in his pocket. He swore it was reacting to her movements. "Sending the signal," Zalora murmured. Ethan frowned. "Signal? Wait, you're still calling your ship? In here?" "Yes." Isn't that like waving a giant flag that says, 'Hey, bounty hunters, come find us'?" Zalora shook her head calmly. "They cannot follow the signal here. It is safe." Ethan crossed his arms, skeptical. If I had a nickel for every time someone said it's safe before something exploded? Zalora ignored him, focusing on the crystal as it pulsed brighter. Slowly, a deep hum began resonating through the space, and Ethan felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. It was beautiful, haunting, and deeply alien all at once. "You're sure this works?" he asked quietly. "It must," Zalora replied, though there was a faint hint of uncertainty in her voice. Ethan exhaled, rubbing his temples. "All right, fine. But if something comes through that crystal trying to eat me, I'm out. You can deal with the space monsters on your own." Zalora shot him an amused glance. "You talk much." "Yeah, it's my coping mechanism," Ethan said. "Would you prefer I just scream internally?" The crystal flared once, its glow intensifying into blinding light. Ethan staggered back, shielding his eyes. "What the—" The hum grew louder, shaking the shimmer itself, until it felt like the entire space was vibrating. Zalora stepped back, her calm demeanor cracking slightly. "Signal sent," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "And that's a good thing, right?" Ethan shouted over the noise. Before Zalora could answer, the light cut off abruptly, leaving the space eerily silent. Ethan blinked several times, his ears still ringing. Then he heard it, a low, distant thud, like something knocking on a door that shouldn't exist. Ethan turned to Zalora, his voice shaking. Zalora? Please tell me that's normal." She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the crystal, wide with something Ethan hadn't seen before. Fear. Ethan couldn't remember the last time his hands had trembled this much. Maybe during his failed driving test at 16, or when he accidentally microwaved his leftover curry in an aluminum container. Both seemed far less terrifying than what was happening now. The thudding grew louder, closer. It reverberated through the shimmer like the heartbeat of something ancient and angry. Each pulse made the space ripple, fracturing the calm in wild, chaotic waves. "Zalora, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I think someone's knocking." Ethan glanced at her, his voice climbing an octave. "And I'm pretty sure they're not selling cookies." Zalora stood rigid, her glowing hand still hovering near the crystal anchor. The blue tint of her skin had paled, her calm exterior finally cracking. "They found us." "What?" Ethan's voice broke. "You said they couldn't find us here, you said." Zalora turned to face him, her violet eyes flickering with something Ethan hadn't seen before. Regret. "The hunters must have traced my ship's signal. The shimmer is old, weak in places. Well, maybe next time we can hide in a shimmer with better insulation," Ethan muttered, his voice thick with sarcasm. "But for now, do we have a plan? Because running in circles while screaming seems like a pretty solid option." Zalora's gaze softened as she looked at him, her voice quieter. "You will be safe. I promise." Ethan stared at her, incredulous. "Me? Safe? What about you?" Zalora didn't answer. She stepped toward the crystal and knelt beside it, her fingers tracing its surface as it began to pulse again. "The hunters want me, Ethan. Not you." Something in his chest tightened. You're giving yourself up, aren't you?" She glanced back at him, offering a faint, sad smile. "It is the only way to protect you." Ethan's mind raced. Was this it? The end of their weird, surreal journey? He thought of all the moments leading up to this. Her appearance in his bedroom, her mysterious warnings, her soft laughter at his dumb jokes. She'd turned his life inside out, and for the first time in years, it felt like something mattered. "No," Ethan said firmly, stepping toward her. "No way. You're not pulling the noble sacrifice card." "Ethan, listen to me." He cut her off, his voice unsteady but resolute. "You said they're after you because of what you know, right? Because you have that thing. What did you call it? The map?" "The celestial map," Zalora whispered. "Right. So, what if we don't let them get it?" Ethan's brain felt like it was working at 1,000 miles per hour. "I mean, you can hide the map or destroy it, right? You said it's knowledge, it's in you. You don't have to give yourself up. Zalora shook her head softly. It is not that simple. Nothing ever is, Ethan shot back. But I know one thing. I'm not letting you get taken because of some interstellar treasure hunt. You're not a sacrifice, Zalora. You're my... He paused, swallowing hard. You're my friend. Zalora blinked at him, her expression unreadable. For the first time, she looked human, vulnerable. And besides, Ethan added, forcing a grin, if anyone's going to go out in a blaze of glory, it's me. I've got years of dumb luck on my side. The faintest trace of a laugh escaped her lips. You are impossible. That's what my high school teachers said, Ethan replied. But here I am, still alive. Now let's think of something better. The crystal flared again, its glow intensifying, and the thudding reached a crescendo. Ethan turned sharply as a section of the shimmer began to crack. Light splintered outward like shattered glass, and through the fissures, Ethan could see shadowy figures, tall, armored beings with glowing red visors. Hunters, Zalora murmured. Yeah, I figured. Ethan spun back toward her, his mind scrambling. You've got powers, right? Alien stuff? Can you open a portal or something? To where? I don't know, he shouted, hands flailing. Anywhere that isn't here. Zalora hesitated, then placed both hands on the crystal. It will not hold for long. Well, then let's go, Ethan said, grabbing her arm. The ground beneath them, or whatever passed for ground in the shimmer, trembled as the fissures expanded. One of the hunters stepped halfway through, its massive frame humming with mechanical energy. Ethan's heart nearly stopped as the red visor fixed on him. Zalora? Any time now. Zalora's fingers moved in a blur, weaving sigils that glowed in the air. The crystal groaned as cracks splintered through its surface, but light surged outward in a final, desperate pulse. Hold on, Zalora said. To what? Ethan screamed, just as the shimmer erupted. The world turned white. Ethan hit the ground with a thud. The wind knocked clean out of him. He groaned, rolling onto his back and blinking up at a ceiling fan? Wait a minute. He squinted. Is this... It was his apartment. His very ordinary beige-walled apartment. The smell of leftover pizza lingered in the air, and the faint hum of the fridge buzzed from the kitchen. For a moment, he thought he'd dreamed the entire thing, until he turned his head. Zalora sat nearby on the floor, cross-legged, looking tired, but very much real. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light, and her violet eyes met his. We made it, Ethan breathed. Zalora nodded. The shimmer is gone, collapsed. Ethan let out a shaky laugh. Well, great. Now the ancient interstellar hallway's broken too. That'll look good on my karma report. Zalora's lips twitched into a smile. We are safe. For now. Ethan pushed himself upright, staring at her. What happens next? The hunters are still out there, aren't they? Yes, Zalora admitted quietly. But they cannot track us here. The shimmer's destruction disrupted their path. Ethan let that sink in, exhaling slowly. So what? You're just going to stay here? Crash on my couch for eternity? Zalora tilted her head, amused. I cannot stay. He frowned. Why not? I must keep moving, she said softly. There are others who seek the celestial map. I must protect it. Ethan's heart sank. So, this is goodbye? She stood, approaching him. For now. Ethan looked down at the floor, his voice quiet. I'm going to miss you, Zalora. She reached out and touched his cheek gently, her glowing hand warm against his skin. You are braver than you know, Ethan, and kinder. He managed a lopsided grin. Don't tell Greg. He'll think I've gone soft. Zalora laughed softly, then stepped back. A faint light surrounded her, shimmering like the first hints of sunrise. Goodbye, Ethan. And with that, she was gone. A whisper of light and air, leaving nothing behind but an empty room and a quiet hum. Ethan sat there for a long moment, staring at the spot where she'd stood. The apartment felt strangely quiet, as though the universe itself had exhaled. Finally, he sighed, leaning back against the wall. "Well," he muttered to himself, "at least I still have Netflix." And yet, for the first time in years, Ethan felt something different. Hope. Because out there, beyond the stars, Zalora was still fighting. And maybe, just maybe, their paths would cross again.